I'd like to welcome everybody, the new players, returning players, to Eve University. This is a Q&A session more so than a formal class. There are a few slides, but they're mostly to make sure that we cover the things that we make sure you need to know, right, in order to prosper and thrive in the game. And we'll be going through them fairly quickly, mostly just to make sure that you're aware of them and to give you a high-level thumbnail sketch of what's involved in each one and what they offer to you. Other than that, we're trying to make room as much as possible for your questions, because that's what we're here for. And you're here on a particularly good day. I noticed by looking at the list of attendees that we have a lot of other orientation officers who have expertise in various areas of the game. So you're likely to get a good answer to your questions today. My role, I'm Alpha Beta Gamma, is to moderate this discussion and try and get out of the way as much as possible. We usually start with a brief introduction, so I'll introduce myself. I've been playing the game for about 18 months now, almost all of that time as a member of Eve University. My gameplay interests are centered around resource harvesting, industry, exploration, and later on, in the 18 months that I've been playing, I started getting into a bit of PvP and PvE as well. So I'm relatively new to that, but fairly experienced in the resource harvesting industry and exploration portions. I noticed that we have several other orientation folks here as well. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, we'll start with Harry, and you can pass it on to the next person.
I'm Harry Honey. I've been with the university for well over 3 years, I think. Primarily going to be found in Wormhole Space. We have a Wormhole community as part of Eve University where you can learn all of the advantages and disadvantages of living in Wormhole Space. I have an alt that's senior production officer. Who builds all of the ships that you'll see in the scheduled fleets as part of the production team. That's probably about it.
Thanks, Harry. Next, orientation officer.
Guess I'll go. I'm John. Been playing Quali for about 10 years on and off. Been with the uni from about 2017 to 20 in a staff role with Incursions. Now I'm back, starting a few months ago. Main play styles tend to be Logi and PvP, small gang, strat ops, that type of thing, as well as some Incursion play when I get a chance. But I've kind of leaned more towards the Logi side of PvP. Also been in basically every campus at one point in time or the other. Right now I'm mainly focused out of Stack and PC9 due to the ongoing issues down in the nullsec pocket with it being contested, and maybe eventually soon back into Wormhole Space at the Wormhole campus.
Thank you very much, John. Traven, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Traven O'Toole. I'm the newest orientation officer, I'm pretty sure. I've been with the uni at this point for about a month this term, but I was with the uni for about 4 months back in 2017 as well. And my play at the moment mostly focuses around exploration, faction warfare, and then just starting out in fleet command.
And is there anybody else who needs to introduce themselves here? Okay, if not, then the orientation team that you see up there is a list of folks that you can reach out to at any time during the game. You don't have to wait for one of these question and answer sessions. Anybody can help you. Don't be shy about asking anyone. Many of the folks at uni are very helpful, and they're generous with the knowledge that they've learned and acquired over time. But these people in particular will go out of their way, even if they don't have the answer to your question or to your particular issue. They will go out of their way in order to get you one. Okay, the list is not quite complete, as you just heard. John Parmalee and Traven are newly added here, and this slide will be updated at some point. And if you're the person doing the links, if you can link the orientation department in the class questions, that way, I think that one's probably a little bit more up to date. And that way, you folks have a reference list of people that you can reach out to in game when you run into something, questions that other people can't answer.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
We're happy you could make it, even if you are late. Don't be sorry. We're happy you're here.
I had a
You
disagreement
haven't
with my coffee
missed
pot.
much. You haven't missed you what?
Had a disagreement with my coffee pot.
Oh, that yeah, no, that's a bit of PVE that has to be resolved quickly, no doubt. Welcome. For those of you who aren't familiar, this voice that you just heard is Psychotic Fickety. She's the manager of the orientation team. We were just finishing up introductions, so you're here at a perfect time. Would you like to introduce yourself, Psychotic?
Hello, everybody. I'm Psychotic. I earned my name very well. I'm glad to see everybody in here. I am one of the people that have been around. I've been around about going on 5 years now. I've held various different positions. My favorite things to do in game is exploration, PvP, mining, industry, and trading. With some PI thrown in because, you can't really make much without PI. So I do a little bit of everything. So glad to have you guys.
Thank you very much, Psychotic. And as you can see, as I said, you're here on a very good day. You should be able to get good answers. The slide that you should all be seeing now, I want to make sure that you don't spend too much time or attention on this. This is something that we're going to do a speed round. We're going to go through each of these 4 categories. I will go through them, just give you the quick thumbnail sketch. The idea here is to make sure that you're aware of the things that you should be doing or have already done in order to get started and connect in the game. The other two sections over on the right hand side, it's not so important that we get to those because we find that there's usually a lot of discussion of those topics in the discussion about programs and services, and that's the one that I think will interest most people. They're the things that the university provides to help give you a leg up and get started in the game. So without further ado, we're going to do the speed round and getting started. First is Discord, Mumble, and in-game chats. Discord and Mumble, I'm hardly going to discuss it all. You're here, you're using Discord and Mumble, so you've got that working. The in-game chats, if someone will be kind enough to post a link for the in-game chats in the questions channel for those who need more detail. The big difference here is that Discord is the primary out-of-game communication. It's what we use to ping folks about fleets and events, and it's persistent. Something that you post in Discord will stay visible even after you go in and out. Mumble is our primary voice communication. That's the one that we use to speak back and forth in fleets and in the standing fleets. And the in-game chats are not persistent. So they're the ones in-game in the little window in the bottom, left-hand corner. And what you'll find about those, which is both a blessing and a curse, is that you can only see the things that have been posted since you entered. Things that were posted before will not be visible to you. And once you leave the in-game chat and come back in, everything that you could see before will be gone. So they're great for conversations, disposable conversations, things that, chatting, right? Things that aren't important. But remember all the time that if you're going to do something important, either send somebody an Eve mail or Discord. That way it hangs around. The other is the user forum and the in-game calendar. The university has a forum. It's a bulletin board type forum that we use to post fleets and corporate events, classes, and that sort of stuff. And it usually contains a fair amount of detail. So the way this usually works, the in-game calendar, which you can access by just clicking the little digital clock in the bottom left-hand corner, and you'll see the in-game calendar come up. You can search to see what's happening on any one particular day. And as a matter of courtesy, everybody who posts in that particular calendar will usually include a link to the forum post, okay, for that particular event. And you can click on that and get the more detailed information to see, fits for ships, whether you can fly them, that sort of thing. So the two of those go hand in hand. The forum is also a standalone piece, and somebody would be kind enough to click the link for the index to the forum. And it's a place that when you get a little bit of time, you can go around and it's all categorized, and you can search around there to find topics that interest you and events and classes and things that cover things that you have a particular interest in. The other thing is the Eve University overview. So the Eve University overview is primarily a standard overview, is a standard default package that the university provides. And the important thing about that is that it helps you to see things that are relevant to you for both PvP, PvE, and any time that you're in space, and to help keep your screen functional and organized. The reason that we have a standard one is because it's really important, if you're in fleet, that you see the same things on your overview as your fleet commander or your fleet mates see, right? So we really highly recommend that you install that overview. You can customize it. The customizing of it is a little beyond this, right? So make sure that you have that on so that you're seeing the same thing everybody else does. Shared bookmark folders. Bookmarks, that name is kind of bizarre. It's locations, actually. You can be flying around in space and just press Control B, and a window will pop up allowing you to lay down a location marker in space. And then once you save that, you can then navigate that from your own personal bookmark folder. So in addition to those that help you navigate, there are shared bookmark folders that the corporation provides as well. The easiest way to find those is to go to your Neocom menu, top left-hand corner, click on that, and under social, you'll see corporations and corporation. And if you click on that, it will bring you to the corporation window for Eve University. And under bulletins, about 3/4 of the way down the page, you'll see the links in cyan for the bookmarks that are shared amongst all the members of Eve University. If you click on those, it will ask you if you want to put it online. And I recommend that you do put online the shared bookmarks for the area that you're in, whether it's in Stackman, Slays, or the Nullsec community that's down around the PC9 Pocket and Syndicate, or in Wormhole Campus. So those will help you to find, locations of interest in space that other unistas have found. You don't have to create all the bookmarks yourself. Other people go exploring, and you have access to what they've found in those shared location folders. And the last one in this is the corporation skill plans. So in the same area, you'll notice that we keep going back to that NeoCom menu, the hamburger in the top left-hand corner. And if you look at that, right down underneath your picture, you'll see a circle showing the skills and the progress that you've made with your skill plan and the particular skill that's happening at that time. If you click on that, you'll be brought to the skill window, and there you'll see right across the top personal, corporate skill plans and the skill catalog in general. So all you have to do is click on the skill plans, and in there you'll see the approved corporate skill plans. The most important ones are the short skill plan, right? And that is one that for new players will get you into a ship fairly quickly. And there's also a list that I would ask somebody to post a link for the ships that you can fly with the short skill plan to get you out and playing quickly with a minimum investment of skill points. And that's our speed round through getting started. And now for the best part of the day, your questions. Floor is open. Any questions, clarifications, or anything that anybody would like to pose now? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I had a question. So when we're down in the pocket in nullsec regarding the buyback program, what I tried to look on the website for what is and what isn't included in the program. So can we just get a little clarification on that, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. The buyback is one of the programs and services that the university offers to assist all the new players. It takes a lot of the difficulty and the losses out of it, and it's quite an advantage. So I recommend that everybody familiarize themselves with buyback. Buyback comes in 3 flavors, for lack of a better way of explaining it. The first one is general buyback, and the general buyback works to accept everything that is not a harvestable resource like gas or moon or ice or asteroid or anything that is not mined is covered by the general buyback, and the general buyback applies for a single person. So if you're just a guy out in space, right, exploring, collecting loot, right, hacking cans, taking what you get from them, and you want to sell those to the university's buyback program in order to turn them into ISK, then the general buyback is for you. It covers everything that isn't ore. Now, there are a couple of little exceptions. Planetary industry, very low value, high volume stuff like P0 or P1 products are generally not accepted in buyback, though there are some exceptions. And everything else can be sold to buyback. And the way that it works, just to give you a quick thumbnail sketch of that, is you take a list of the things that you want to sell to the buyback program. You put them into an appraisal program like Janus, set it for 95% of G to buy, and get an appraisal. That number, right, goes into a contract that you open up with Ivy League buyback in the contract window, and you'll include those items and ask for the value of that appraisal in return. And usually a couple of days later, it's done. So everything that's not, ships, modules, loot, salvage, anything that isn't ore can go into the individual buyback, the general buyback program. Does that answer your question, or did I misunderstand you?
No, that's great. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And again, you'll notice that we take questions in any order, anything that you're interested in. Do we have more questions?
Yeah, those skill plans. I noticed I've got the short skill plans done, and so I was interested where to go next. Most of them seem to be incursion.
Understood. You will also find, I believe, 2 damage dealer skill plans there. Okay, so if you're interested in doing PvP or PvE, they're good skill plans for that. The other skill plan is the pyramid skill plan, and that's a little bit more complicated. If you want to discuss that in more detail, we usually hang around for about a half an hour or an hour, depending on the number of questions, for people who have detailed questions that they need to get into that we can answer. So if that's enough of an answer for you, great. And if it's not, you want to just put it in the parking lot and we can discuss it afterwards because it's a detailed answer.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Anybody have any questions or anything to add?
I posted the link for the Preparing for Incursions page, which does include required skill plans for that section, since I think you were specifically interested there.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I see no questions in the questions channel, and I hear no questions there. So I presume that everybody is ready to move on to the next portion, which is going to be the programs and services. And these are the ones that usually interest most people, and they do provide very valuable benefits. So if you are not familiar with these, pay attention for this next speed round, and by the time we're finished, you should have a good idea of things you can take advantage of.
I guess I'll kick us off. I read in the Uni Holly forum page that there was a suggested donation for hauling materials, quote, quote, for profit. What exactly does for profit constitute?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. And essentially, the Uni hauling service provided by Ivy League Transport is generally free. If you're a Unista moving ships and personal effects in game from one of the supported locations to another, then that is free. They do suggest that a non-necessary, completely voluntary tip be provided to help compensate the pilot who's doing it, but there is no set fee for that, and it's just a recommendation, not a requirement. So if it's your personal items, ships, other things that you are not selling for profit, then that is done free of charge as a service by the university. If, however, you're an industrialist, let's say, by example, and you're going to be hauling large quantities or stockpiles of materials that you require for your building projects, and those projects are then going to be flown back to a market somewhere and sold, then both directions of that are considered for profit. When you're moving the materials to build the stuff, and when you leave the production facility, wherever it is, whether it's in an NPC station or a university or player-owned structure, to the market, both of those trips are considered to be for profit, and the suggested fee of, I believe it's 500 ISK per cubic meter applies. Did I understand your question, and does that answer it?
It does, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Any other questions before we start the next speed round? If the answer is no, then here's the part that most people really like to pay attention to because it's really value to them. These are programs and services that the university offers to its members, and you get to enjoy them as members of Eve University. The Skillbook Reimbursement Program, particularly important to new players, and what the Skillbook Reimbursement Program does is it pays you 3.5 up to 3.5 million ISK per day for the purchase of skill books that are required to be bought before you can actually train the skills in the book. So anybody who's familiar already with the skill book requirement in Eve will see the value of this, particularly for newer players. Most of the skill books for the lower level skills all come in at well under 3.5 million, so you can purchase sometimes several skill books a day and still be within the 3.5 limit. Corporate hangers and contracts, we're going to get back to that because that usually does a lot of discussion, creates a lot of discussion. The next one is the +3 implants program. So we're still on skills here. And in the game, you can buy implants to plug into the head of your clone that will speed up training, right? So that you get more skill points. Normally, a clone with no implants that hasn't had a remap done usually has attributes of like +8. So these represent roughly 35% increase in training speed. And the university has a program that will essentially provide these to you one time only, your +3 implants for about half price. So that's a real big advantage. Typically, they cost somewhere in the order of 80 million bucks, and you'll get them for half price. There should be a link in the questions channel now that will bring you to the page describing the program. It's just a simple little Google form that you fill out and you tell them what you want. There are limits on the program, but we can get into that if anybody has that question. The ship replacement program is something geared towards the folks that do PvP. If you're in a fleet with a fleet commander and you're flying a doctrine ship or at least an approved university fit ship, the university has a program that if your ship is lost during combat, up to 100% of its replacement value, right, will be reimbursed to you same way. Simple Google form to fill out. You put in your kill from your Z-kill board and you describe what happened, who the fleet commander was, and the actual doctrine that was being flown at the time, which could sometimes be kitchen sink doctrine. Whoa. I need to drink less coffee. My mouth is going faster than my brain. So this ship replacement program is geared specifically towards softening the loss of ISK from PvP play, because in general, PvP players don't make a lot of money doing PvP. When you lose ships and everything, it's a net loser most times, and most people have other careers, side hustles that they do in Eve besides PvP, so they can get some money in order to fund those ships. So there is a ship replacement program, and it's available to anybody who meets those criteria. The other one are mentors. This is a great program to help you learn. And if you have an idea what you would like to do in game, you can apply to the mentor department for an experienced player who will be paired up with you for a period of approximately 3 months. It can be extended by mutual agreement, but by default, it's considered to be a 3-month assignment, and you're paired up with somebody who's very experienced and knowledgeable in your area, and that relationship helps you to learn from the person who's already been through it. And you're allowed to do this once, and although there are lots of people that will help you, and some of them even on an ongoing basis, the mentor program is a formal program which will pair you up with somebody for that period, and you can benefit from that. Particularly good if you're doing deeply layered, complex activities like industry or PvP. But you can certainly ask for a mentor in any area of the game that you're interested in, and if there is a volunteer available, one will be assigned. Okay, and we're going a little backwards here. Buyback and hauling. We've already discussed the hauling part briefly, but the university provides a hauling service that will get your stuff from point A to point B if they're supported. And in the link to the hauling forum post, you will see, if you click that, the rules and the locations that are supported. It's fairly self-explanatory. The buyback, on the other hand, is a little more complicated. We already discussed one type, and that's the general buyback. But there's also a buyback specifically for ore. There are actually 3 flavors. We've discussed one flavor, the solo general buyback. The next one is ore buyback. Now, for people who are into resource harvesting, mining, that sort of thing, the university has a fabulous setup that's of great advantage to anybody who's into this particular type of play style. Normally, if you didn't have this service available to you, if you were a miner, you would have to compress your ore, drag it back to some central location, and then reprocess it at some point in order to turn it into minerals, because that's where the most value is. It takes a high skill level for reprocessing in order to get the best efficiency, so you would end up losing a certain amount of your refined products from the refining process itself, because your skills aren't perfect. And in addition to that, you then have to haul it to a market where you try and sell it, which puts you at risk of being ganked. And once you're at the market, you have to sell to buy orders, which are typically, lowball prices. And because you're the person selling, you have to pay broker's fees and sales taxes. University takes all of that away from you by providing a mining buyback program. It's a little bit more complicated, but in the same buyback instructions, you'll see a link that goes to the mining buyback. All you do is stack your ore in a list, punch it into a spreadsheet, which does the calculations as if your ore was being refined by a perfect refiner, and you get paid based on the value of the refined products to the tune of 96% of G to buy. And in most cases, the value of the minerals from the ore is significant enough that you end up with more money than if you had taken the compressed ore to market and sold it. And you certainly would end up with more than if you tried to refine it, transport it, and sell it. So anybody who's into that gameplay style, encourage that. Last but not least are the corporate hangers and contracts, and I've done one of these sessions earlier today. Psychotic, would you like to jump in here and handle that for me while I get a drink? My voice is getting rough.
Corporate hangers. So there's various different corporate hangers if you're looking in game right now. There is. I'm trying to sign in so I can give you the right places to look. If you're looking for certain things for like mining, for example, and you're in Derrick Chateau, you'll see that there is items in there for things like orcas. They'll have heavy water. So we supply some of that heavy water for people who are out there boosting for others. That just allows everybody to be able to do that a little bit more efficiently and without having to pay for the heavy water out of their pocket for boosting for a group of people. So that being said, hangars. In these corporate hangars, you're going to see like a general hangar, a donation and loot, a main hangar. So those are the ones that you're going to see. Most of the time, there's going to be things like ammo used or damaged if you're down in PC9 at the moment, which is I am. Filaments, gate keys, skins. You're also going to find things like if you do PI, the things to put up on the various different planets in accordance to what you want. So there's things that are in there. Some of those things are going to be available to you when you get your freshman title. Some things are going to be available to you right away. It just depends on where you are in space, but most of the stuff is going to be behind the freshman title. The freshman title, I don't know if we have covered this yet, is you have to be in Corp 7 days and your character has to be 30 days old. The reason why we do this is we don't want somebody that's going to come in and decide that they're not really fit for this game and delete their character after they've already used some of the resources. It just helps to keep everything fair for everybody. If you do not despair, though, if you need something that may be in one of the hangars, you can ask somebody who already has the freshman title, or for certain ones, the sophomore title. Most of this is not relevant to most of the brand new players. The reason for that is most of the things you're going to be able to find for being able to get out there and party hardy right away is going to be on contract for you, like the ships, like exploration ships, mining, like adventures, the T1 frigates, like are all going to be already on contract from the university.
And the
Sorry,
beauty of those contracts are that they're available at zero. Thank you very much, Psychotic. I just needed to get a drink. And they're available at zero, and they're yours to keep once you get them. Take them out in space, fly around, learn. If it gets destroyed, come back, take another one off contract, go out and improve what you did the last time. The other two things that are not in the programs and services that I'd love to cover as well are, once hauling has hauled all your stuff, for argument's sake, to the headquarters community, right, in order to get you all set up for your life at Eve University. The question is, how are you going to organize that? So the other program, which you won't find on this list, are the station container program. There's a program that provides you with 10 station containers that you can put in your location, usually at the Quad in Stackman, or at the top station in PC9 if you're in Nullsec, and the equivalent in Wormhole campus. And those are free, delivered to you at those locations, and you have 10 very large containers that you can use for organizing all of the riches and stuff that you're going to get while you're playing the game. And the last one is particularly oriented towards the first producers in the game, which are the resource harvesters and miners. There's a program called a half-price barge program, and what that does is it provides to members of the university a mining barge, which is the next step up from the starting ship, which is a venture, which is available to you for free. The next step up from that would be a barge, and university provides under the half-price mining barge program up to 5 mining barges at half price for people who are into mining and resource harvesting. And that's the end of the speed round for programs and services. And once again, the floor is open for your questions, discussions, criticisms, and clarifications. The floor is yours.
Can we go over the how to find things on contract, please? I didn't quite
Oh,
get
I'm
there.
sorry. Did I cut you off? By all means,
Yes.
I don't know where you left off, so you can finish that if you want. I'm sorry. I jumped in at what I thought was a good point, but obviously not.
No, you're fine. For those of you, just to go back, if you're looking for stuff on contract, you go up to your Neocom, which is the little E, or we call it the hamburger menu, because it kind of looks like a stacked hamburger. You go down to finance, to contracts. Now here there's two different ways that you can get to Eve University's contracts. You could go contract search, or on the very front, it says, where it says contracts, my contracts, and then it'll say you can create however many contracts. And underneath that, it says there are 1,250 contracts assigned to your corporation. You can just literally click that, and it'll take you to the little window. And then you can then further clarify in here that you want availability to be, and that's down towards the bottom in the little one of the little drop downs just above where it says filters, high, low, null. You click on that and just simply say my corporation, and you can keep it current region. You can change it to be all systems, all regions, and hit search, and it'll knock that down to being just what is available from the university or from people from our corporation to other members. You're going to be able to find if there's a special fleet that's going out that's not a strat op. This is where you'll find those ships as well. And you'll also find the other ships that we were just talking about that you can grab for free under 0 ISK. Now, under price, if it's from somebody else for a specific, like Eve University for a specific thing, it'll actually usually tell you in the description. Or sometimes it just simply says, what the ship is. So just have a look. Some of them are going to be easy to get into. If you're not sure, you can click on the multiple items and you click it and it'll open up the window. And in there, you should be able to see what it is. And you'll get the little ship at the bottom. You can actually right click on that little ship in that window and say simulate, and it'll actually tell you if you can find that ship without any of the fittings on it. So it's a little trick to make sure that before you accept something or pay for something, you're able to actually fit the ship. Which means actually sit in the ship and be able to fly it. Just a little trick. All right, go ahead, Alpha Beta.
Thanks very much for that. And my apologies for cutting you off. Okay, so we're at the end of the programs and services. And as I was beginning to say there earlier, this is your question and answer session. So the floor is yours. Ask your questions now.
I'm not a mentor, but I'm one of the teachers and intake officers. If you got a question, hit me up. If I don't know the answer, I will find it for you.
And that is the truth. Thank you, Loeb. Okay, I don't see any questions in the questions text channel, and none seem to be coming up on Mumble. So that gives us the next speed round.
I guess I could throw a question out there. I was wondering if you could talk about some of the prefixes on the corporation contracts. Like I see UFC, which I know is the University Fight Club. But I also see like FD and GCD. I don't know what those mean. I was wondering perhaps you could share.
Oh, sure. Yeah, those questions are perfectly valid, and it's an excellent question. FD means that it's a flight deck ship, and if you look at that contract, you'll probably notice that the price is 0 ISK. So that's a flight deck ship that's provided for free on contract at that location for you to take out and play. The GCD is an abbreviation. I don't know if anybody has the link to the lexicon of Eve, because Eve has a language pretty much all of its own, and the university also has a language pretty much of its own. GCD refers to glass cannon destroyers, and this is a doctrine where you take a destroyer that's probably not going to last very long because it has very thin strength armor, shields, right, are very thin. All of its fitting strength has been put into its weapons. So hence the name glass cannon, right? So it's the type of thing that you fire once and it blows itself up, right? They're used quite a lot when you're involved in, for lack of a better word, unequal or guerrilla type tactics. If you're fighting other people who have ships that are larger and more powerful than yours, a fleet of a large number of these glass cannon destroyers can do an amazing amount of damage. And usually the university doctrine for glass cannon destroyers are Catalysts or sometimes Thrashers. The Catalysts do a little bit more damage, the Thrashers lock up a little quicker. Does
Thank
that
you.
answer your question?
It does.
Okay, if we have no others, speed round for the last two. The last two I like to do together because they're fairly quick, and I'll see if I can get it done in less than 5 minutes so that there's more time to ask questions for people who have to leave at the end of the hour. Getting involved, in general, people find that the social aspect of the game is very satisfying. They enjoy the game more. They learn more. They learn more quickly when they're playing the game with other people. That doesn't mean that you can't be the lone wolf. If you are the type of person who likes to play alone and would just as soon not interact with other people, you can still be a member of Eve University. You don't have to move to a campus. You can attend classes, present things, give things back to the university, play your own game in your own way. You're allowed to do that. But since most people do find that they learn faster, make friends, and enjoy the game more, we encourage joining a community. We have 3 main communities in university. The Nullsec community, which is in the Syndicate area in the PC9 pocket. We have the Wormhole campus community, which is in an operationally secure location. And, they usually like to live the spooky life that wormholes are. So most times we don't know exactly how to get to them until you need to get there. So joining that community has special requirements. You at least have to be able to fly cloak ships. So I think Harry can probably correct me on this, but I believe cloaking 4 or something like that is a requirement. Plus, there are some experience requirements as well in order to join the Wormhole community.
That's correct. You need to be able to fly a Cobalt ship, which would be like a Helios or a Buzzard or an Astero. You also need to be able to fly one each of our doctrines, and we have sort of low skill requirement versions of our doctrine. So if you can fly an Imperial Navy Slicer or a Hookbill, that would satisfy our AAF requirement.
And the reason for those requirements is that wormhole space is spooky space, and there's an awful lot of scanning. Local doesn't work, so you have no idea what's going on. So there are particular skill requirements that are required to join that community. But as far as I know, it is the only community that has requirements for specific skills. In addition to the Wormhole campus, we have the headquarters community, which is centered around Stackman and Slays, and that's where most people who come into the university start. There's no reason why you can't start at null, but there are requirements for Wormhole. Joining a class or event is the other thing that will get you learning quicker, meeting other people, and thriving in the game even faster. And we've already covered how you can find those classes or events on the forum and in the in-game calendar, and we encourage you to do that. It's amazing how fast you learn when you do this. The other thing is, how do you even find out about the things that aren't scheduled? Because classes and events are scheduled, but what about things that just pop up? Okay, and the best way to find out about things that are just popping up is to monitor Discord, right, and join the standing fleets, particularly in Mumble. You don't have to talk, but you do need to listen. You'll learn lots. You'll be able to reach out for help if something happens. Somebody jumps you while you're out in space. You can ask for someone to come and assist you. They may not always be able to do it, but at least you have a chance. And the other thing is, that's often where people discuss, oh, we're going to just jump out now and go to Slaves, to Derrick Chateau, and go mine some moon ore. It may not be a scheduled event. It's an impromptu one that just pops up, and that's the best way to learn about those things. That, and occasionally you'll see pings in Discord for whatever it might be, like these standing fleets. Can be for abyssals, it can be stuff that pops up for incursions. Well, no, not so much incursions. They're usually scheduled these days. Mission running fleets, opportunities to run event sites, that sort of thing. So you'll be more plugged in to what's happening and have more opportunities to join other people doing the things that you like if you're a member of the standing fleet in Mumble, because you'll hear about it. And the other thing is, when you're in game and you're part of the community, we also recommend that you join the standing fleet in game, which, again, back to this hamburger or neocom menu. If you click that and go down to social, you'll see a selection in the submenu that pops up that says fleets. If you click on that, a window will open that will allow you to find fleets. And if you click on that and open up the window, you'll see all of the fleets that are available to you at that particular time. And you can look there and see, just from the title, one might say Antolari Ice Mining Fleet. So if you're interested in mining, that's one that you might want to join. But all the time, there are 3 standing fleets. Okay, the headquarters standing fleet, the nullsec standing fleet, and the wormhole standing fleet. And we encourage you to be in those as well. That way, if you do get into trouble, since you're in fleet, people can warp directly to your location, which they normally can't do unless you're sharing a fleet with them. Next one is strategic operations. University is often...
Pause for just a second. There's one more thing to being able to find the events before we get into the strategic ops. This is by in Alliance auth. You need to opt into groups. You need to opt into the groups to be able to find out things that interest you. If you are brand new to the game, use all of the things. Just do not click the Eve only, because you will not find out anything about any of the other stuff going on in Eve University. So that is not something we recommend for our newer players, but it is an option for our lone wolves that like to just, be in corp and roam around. But for everybody else, you can opt into classes, faction warfare, incursions, main community, mining, miscellaneous, missions, PvP, even the junior FC stuff, which leads us into the strategic ops. Go ahead, Alpha Beta.
Well, thank you for that introduction, because I'm sure that would be of benefit to many of the people who are here, particularly the new folks. StratOps are strategic operations that the university conducts, usually during periods of formal high-sec war. Corporations do occasionally declare war on Eve University, and when that happens, you will see pings and invitations to come join strategic operations, either to defend our structures or to attack their structures. And the war continues until the headquarters of the group that declares war is destroyed. So normally university puts together a strategic operation to go out and try and destroy their headquarters and bring the war to an end. Most new players have a certain amount of trepidation or hesitation, thinking, I don't have enough skills, I can't really contribute. I say that is decidedly not true. Everybody who can fly a frigate can make a difference in these, and all strategic operations, no matter what kind of fleet it is, will have options for low-skilled players who don't have a lot of experience. And not only will you help the strategic operation, but you'll have fun, and you'll learn a lot about how to operate in fleets if you haven't done it before. So again, strongly encouraged. Last one, title progression. 3 progressive titles in university. One was already discussed, the freshman. Simple requirements: 30 days or more in the game, 7 days or more at university. You apply for the title through AllianceSoft, you get it. Second one, sophomore. If I could sum it up in one word, I would say participation. If you're actively playing the game and interacting with other people, it shows both in your kill board and in your logged in time and everything like that. So after a period, I forget how many weeks it is offhand now, 6 weeks or something like, you can probably apply for the sophomore title. And if you've been an active and participating member and it shows, you'll get that. The last title is graduate, and for graduate, there are probably 2 words to describe that, and that's mastery and giving back, right? So if you've mastered areas of the game and you're giving back, actively giving back to university by hosting events or teaching classes, whatever, in whatever way, you can also apply through AllianceSoft for the graduate title, and you have to have each one before you can go to the next one. You have to be a freshman before you can become a sophomore, and so on. And you can apply for that.
I do have a hint for people doing sophomore and graduate. Every once in a while, there is a class that gets posted up called CCI, Community Content Initiative. I encourage everybody to take part in this. It's a great way of making sure that you keep track of your stuff. You have 1 year to complete the CCI aspect of it. But even if you don't, it's a great way to be able to show that you have been participating. You take part on a strat op, post a link to like your kill board for that particular day. You take part in a class, link that into the CCI forum. Give me a second. I will link you the forum in just a moment. It's a great program. It's a great way of keeping track, and it makes the lives of the people doing progression a lot easier to be able to track what you have been doing. And that is something you can also link in your application, if I am not mistaken. So you can link that forum saying, yes, look, here's all the things I have been attending and doing. And this is what I've learned, and this is what I've been up to. It's a great, great tool. So please, please, please think about that. Continue on now, please.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. After a large guzzle of water, we get down to the more about Eve University. I don't know if Psychotic wants to add anything about our communities. I think we've pretty much discussed the three of them and the uses of them up to this point. So there's probably not a lot more to say about that. The next part is the management structure. There is a link on the wiki that does cover the management personnel, and hopefully someone is putting that link into the questions channel right now. But what I use most time, and what's probably as convenient as anything, is the right hand side of Discord. If you look over there, you'll see everything all the way from the individual members of the Eve University Corporation through the managers to the directors and so on, all the way up. And although it probably wouldn't be your first point of contact, I would recommend that your first point of contact be somebody from orientation. If you have a problem that isn't being resolved, or there's something in the game that's not working the way you think, and you're having difficulty resolving it, reach out to somebody in orientation. If it does require somebody in the management structure, we know who to talk to. Last one before the conflict resolution is rules of engagement, and you would have received those in the attachment to the letters that you got when you joined university, and I hope somebody is posting a link to the rules here. Certainly we don't have time to go over all of them here, but I want to make sure that everybody realizes that you need to be aware of the university's rules of engagement. If you break those rules and somebody notices it, you could be breaking them without even realizing that they're a rule, and somebody knows it, then you're going to be brought up on it, and there may be some sanction or disciplinary action taken. By and large, our rules of engagement are based on three simple principles. We like to keep neutrality as much as we can. We like to be a classy organization, so don't be an idiot and go stealing sites, right? And we'd like to we never declare war on anybody, and we don't like people who attack other folks in HiSec for no reason at all. So ganking or similar is not allowed if you're a member of Eve University. Now, there are a bunch of other ones as well, but I'll leave it to you to read the rules and understand them. If there's any questions about them, we can cover it after. Sorry?
There's one more rule. There's one more rule that really needs to be covered, especially if you are going to be down in nullsec for the strata opt and stuff like that. If it is blue, which means it has a little blue colored plus sign in a blue colored box, like a white plus sign in a blue colored box, do not shoot it, please. Even though it is in nullsec. Yes, that is in your overview. Thank you. That person is friendly to Eve University, either there to help us or is an alt to one of the Eve players themselves. So please, 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 we have a very bad standing on shooting blue people with our Unitunes or other tunes. So that is very important for going down there to nullsec today. So please, please, please watch your overview. So that's it. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no, it's actually quite helpful. And anybody who is looking for something to do this afternoon, I encourage you to jump in the shuttle and run down to PC9 area if you're not there already and join that strat op. It's great experience. It's usually great fun, and you can help defend uni. Last but not least is the conflict resolution, and essentially any organization that has as many people from different backgrounds and different personality types and different characteristic chemistry are eventually going to find two people who lock horns or don't mix or have some sort of a conflict within the university. When those things happen, we encourage people to try and resolve those difficulties directly with the person involved themselves. That's not always possible. And if you can't resolve your conflict with the person who actually wronged you or did something that you believe is incorrect or unbecoming of a university member, we do have a conflict resolution function, and those are provided by the members of the student advocate group. The most experienced and longest standing member would be Gibson Thunderbird, but there are more than him. And if you do have an issue with another member of the university and you can't resolve it yourself, then I encourage you to contact the Office of the Student Advocate, and they're very adept at getting both parties together and reaching a fair and equitable solution wherever possible. It's not always possible, but they do their best. And that's the end of the quick thumbnail sketch. So we're at the part where the floor is open for your questions, clarifications, comments. Ask away.
A couple of things just from I wanted to didn't get to speak up. For the strap today, I just want to reiterate, if anyone is coming down there, bring yourself in a shuttle. We will provide the ships. They come free of charge. As long as and at the end of the strap, you either give them back or, well, they got blown up and we'll replace them. So bring yourself down in a shuttle. Do not bring your own ships. Do not rename your ships. Do not insure your ships. We'll go over all this stuff during the beginning of the strat up. For folks who haven't done it before, you feel free to join a little bit early. But you just need to bring yourself in a clean clone. You know what that means? We don't want any implants inside because you may go boom. But a lot of times we just need numbers. So please, as just to reiterate, you're never too inexperienced to show up down there and help out. If only because more players on the field means the enemy has to choose who to target, and they may choose to target you, even if you're doing less damage, and not as one of the other players. So it makes it harder for them to take out key members of the fleet by just putting numbers on the field. So if you no matter how long you've been in a uni, come up, show up to the strat and help defend our structures down PC9 today. The other quick note on that is Junior FC. Doesn't matter if you have any experience. If you are interested in learning how to FC your fleet and start progression up, you don't have to be ready to do it right now, but feel free to join that channel on Discord and read it. That's a lot of the fleet FC type discussions show up there. So that's a good place, even if you have any interest in that sort of strategy or how fleet stuff and it's composed and why we do things, join it and read at least. There's no like application you have to be accepted. You just join the channel in Alliance Auth and you can do that. Let's see. Also, one quick note on SLP. SLP is kind of tilted more towards large reimbursements for newer player type ships. So some of your cheaper ships like frigates and destroyers will be higher reimbursement rate than some of your more expensive ships. Also, certain roles that are hard to attract, like Logi, tend to get higher SRP reimbursements, and doctrine ships in a certain doctrine will tend to get reimbursements. It's all on the page, but just be aware that there is significant differences on how much you get reimbursed depending on the function and type of ship it is, comparative to the overall value of that ship and fitting. It's not designed to make yourself 100% whole. It's designed to help lessen the blow, and in addition to insurance, especially for some of the more specialty role ships too, that the in-game insurance doesn't really pay out very well for. So you're encouraged to use it, but just understand the limitations of that program. You always want to make sure you have some way of making ISK and getting back and not dependent on SRP to have the only ship you fly if you're going into combat, because it is a slower program. It does take several days, if not a week, to get that ISK back to the university. On that, there are encourage everyone to go out in the fleets, particularly PvP fleets. They're always welcoming of new players. And if you have any questions, always just check out. We do a generally weekly email out in the co-op inbox of events, but that's not a guaranteed set of everything because things do change. And we send that out once a week, so people add stuff after we send it out, or date times and that are modified. So just a quick reminder: you can see the in-game mail, but also always check the calendar and the panels because things do change and additional events are added and subtracted. But those are just a few quick notes I had. If you have any questions, please put them in chat.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Jan. Any questions about what Jan was talking about or about anything that we either have or haven't discussed at this time? It's all about you, so ask away.
Kind of off topic here, but going back to student advocates, there's people text me in games and say, "Look, this guy, he's always shooting me. What's going on?" And I ask him, "Okay, send me your chat logs, send me your combat logs. Let me investigate." The best thing to do if you have a problem with somebody, make sure your chat is being saved on your computer. That way you will have evidence to use against whatever. Does that make sense?
To his point, default is to save these logs on your computer. They will be for Windows. They'll be in underneath your documents in a folder called Eve, just so that everybody is aware on how to find it. Mac users, I'm not 100% sure where to find it in your tree, but it'll be once again in where your documents are under a folder called Eve as well.
I've got a question. You guys mentioned the groups and alliance auth. And joining specific ones, what does joining do with those again?
So it opens up if you're under in Discord at the moment and looking. If you scroll up above the classroom channel that you're in, where it should open up an area called ping channels. It'll allow for you to receive pings for classes, ping miscellaneous, like for here for orientation talks or like little events that are going on will be in ping miscellaneous. Missions will go under missions. Pinging for roams that are spur of the moment or even planned will come out in ping PvP, and then uni-wide will usually be where you'll find pings for StratOp.
Okay, so it's a Discord thing. Okay, thanks.
Yep, not a problem.
Hello, I have one question. Can I ask?
Go right ahead.
So basically, do we graduate in university? Is there in the end some exam?
You can graduate Eve University. Your microphone is open still, my dear. Thank you. You can graduate from Eve University. There is they look for a lot of things. Giving back is the biggest thing. A wide range of experience is another. I think I'm the quickest person to graduate Eve University, and it took me 7-8 months. They usually keep it open for a year. So you can be in longer, but if you're using CCI, they keep it open in a year. CCI goes a long way into your graduate title, and other how do I put this? Other corporations really like to use. You get awarded a medal, and they look for that medal, so you make it visible to the public because it is a way of letting everybody know that you have the basics under your belt. You know a wide range of mechanics and things. They know that they don't have to necessarily teach you from ground up. You have a basic knowledge of the game, and then they'll usually fine-tune what they want out of their members when you join another corporation. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome. Um, there is a question. Let's see. So the when it comes to knowing what the doctrine will be, it'll be announced when you form for the strat up. So they will tell you at the time what the doctrine will be. To answer your question, Side and Chin, I don't know how to.
This is a operational security choice.
Yes. So we don't want to tip our hands too soon to anybody outside of the corporation. So we, at the time of strat up, will tell you what the doctrine will be.
There's a
And there'll
good
be
chance there will be
ships
something.
available. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying there's a good chance that there will be something you can fly, even if it's not one of the mainline ships. So feel free to come down regardless.
For strat ops, the ships will be handed out at form up. So everybody will have a ship to fly.
So to confirm, there's a strat op in about an hour, and literally anyone's welcome. Just show up and everything will be fine.
Yes.
Yes.
Gonna have a form up fleet from StatCommand.
I don't know.
I'm not sure when it's been scheduled. I saw somebody asking for somebody to lead one, but I didn't see much response. So I'm not sure there will be an official travel fleet. Feel free to get yourself down there if you can safely do so in a shuttle. And a travel fleet may pop up. You should see pings about it if so.
Sometimes it's safer when a strat op is going on to just fly yourself anyways, because in a big group it's more likely to be noticed.
And don't use your brand new Apotheosis that you got in your event. The uni has free shuttles available, for instance, in the quad in the general hangar under 01-ship holes. Feel free to take one of those and take that down there.
If it's in a stack, what you do is you hold down I believe it's your shift button. Am I wrong on that one? To be able to drag out, and it'll ask you how many you want to drag out, and just push one.
And then if you don't have access to that hangar, if you just don't see it, there are also shuttles on contract at the quad.
There's that as well. Yep. If you can't find any on contract and you need one, feel free to ask out in any of the in-game channels or even in Bumble. Go, hey, I'm headed down to PC9 from Stackman. I need a shuttle, and somebody will be around to snag one of those for you. There's usually a class also for the person who was asking about exploration, data relic, etc. There's usually a class that goes on about exploration, or you can join in, and there's Traven here who goes over Eve careers, and one of the Eve careers is actually has something to do with exploration. If Traven, do you want to talk about that? Oh no, Traven, you're not the one that teaches that. There's another guy that teaches that. I'm sorry, but there's Eve careers that goes on. There's exploration class that pops up. For some reason, I was thinking Traven, you were the one that was teaching that, but I think I'm wrong on that, aren't I?
I did one in the Australia time zone.
Okay, I wasn't
It was a
completely
little
off
more
my marker.
freeform. There were only 2 people.
Oh, okay. But yes, so that is something to note. It is a really good class to take part in. We try to make sure that there's various different time zones that get covered for a lot of classes, but right now it seems that we favor USTZ, so be aware of that.
And they also mentioned Abyssals. There's a weekly Abyssal study group, I think. Trying to find it. I think it's on Thursday. I can't really remember here.
The one person
But you-
asked isn't on at the moment, but it was linked that there is a study group. Yes.
That's the one
It
Teresa
should be
runs, I believe.
Thursdays at 00203. Thursdays 0203.
Thank you, Joy. Yes, and I do believe it is Driza that, which is another orientation officer. So feel free to poke him and ask.
Yeah, he also reads the EVE Online fiction books to people if they want to attend storytelling.
That kind of sounds rad.
He actually has a YouTube channel for that where he posts them when he's done. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, if you need a link to Dreeza's YouTube, I've got it.
Post that up, please, in the class questions, because I think people would actually really enjoy that.
Yeah, it looks like the Abyssal Study Group's on Tuesdays now.
I just threw a bunch of links in the Chris's channel. The good thing to go to whenever you try to do missions, or and how to identify people in the local by the icons next to their name.
Toy threw it up in Mumble for the Dreeza's reading of
Sorry,
the
I'm not in
ebook.
Discord, guys.
That's okay. There we go.
But yeah, Dreeza rocks. That's his YouTube channel. That's the first chapter's video, but his channel is that one. So.
Anybody else have any questions? So, how to avoid getting smacked by somebody on the way back home, install a jump clone. I can't hype this enough. Install a jump clone. If you're worried about having a shuttle down in that area of space and leaving it there, you can always throw it into the donations hangar and it'll find its way back home. So I encourage everybody to install a jump clone in StackClone if that's where you're calling home. If you call PC9, make sure you set your death clone to the Intaki Commerce Station in PC9, which is the top station if you're coming from a high sec. Top station generally means that it's the one that shows up as the first NPC station at the top of your list in the overview.
Yeah, Psychotic, you might want to explain to them how to do the self-destruct so that, it's not just jumping to a clone, but you can self-destruct all the time as long as you're in a clean clone back to your primary station.
Your home station, yeah. So if you already call PC9 your home station, what you do is you get into your pod. You can do it two ways. You can click on your pod and right click and say self-destruct, or you can go in, give me a second, I gotta look at this, into the right hand side of the screen where it tells you who's in state. You go to the clone bay, and then you go to excuse me. You go to home station, and then you can say self-destruct, and it'll take you back to your home station. So there's two ways to do that particular action.
Make sure you pay attention to if you have plugins.
Yes, you want to change your clone if you have any implants in your head, and the reason for that is you do not want to lose your implants. Generally, it should, unless you've told it to ignore it in the past, pop up and tell you that you have something in your head and are you sure you want to jump. So it should stop you from doing that unless you have turned it off. I hope that helps. Anybody else have any questions?
Maybe a link I just put up, Sacco, will help you.
Thank you, Loeb.
Thank you.
Hey, sounds like we're at the natural end of this one. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And don't forget, you don't have to wait for sessions like this. Reach out at any time when you have questions, whether it's someone from the orientation department or just ask somebody in your standing fleet in Mumble or wherever you're operating. Most people are very generous with their time and their experience, the things that they've learned. And fly safe out there. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Take care and welcome to Eve University.
Well done. And thanks very much too for all the support and the contributions from the other members of the orientation staff, and particularly Psychotic. And don't forget, ask. If you don't know something, rather than suffer through it and try and work your way around it, just ask. Somebody likely has something that they can share with you that'll make your life easier. There is no feedback form for this because it's not really a class. It's more of a question and answer. And if you have some feedback, you can leave it right in the questions channel itself, or do what somebody did after the orientation session this morning in the Australian time zone, and send us an email. We love to hear positive comments, but it's probably even more important that we have comments about what we could do better or what we might have done wrong, because we're always looking to improve. Thanks very much, everybody. Fly safe.